Hey guys, this is the fifth and final section of our class titled Render, Export and Share Your GIF. In this section we're going to add a background color and shadow to our character. We're going to pre-comp our cycle for rendering. We're going to render the loop as a QuickTime. We're going to import the QuickTime into Photoshop, export the GIF from Photoshop, and finally we're going to post our animated GIF. Okay, so we're going to open up our After Effects file. Here's our guy again. He's happily looping, and what we're going to do now is we're going to add a background color to him. And we're going to go Layer, New, Solid, and I'm going to use this bright green here. Here's our layer, it's at the front, so we're going to drag it down to the back of the comp so we can see all the elements of our character. I'm just going to rename this background. Now our character feels slightly like he's floating in midair, so we're going to add a shadow just to give us a sense of where the ground is. And we're going to do that the same way we made all the arms and legs. We're going to grab the pen tool, make sure nothing's selected in the timeline, so that when we draw a line underneath our guy here, we create a new shape layer. I'm just going to call this layer Shadow. Now I'm going to move this to the back, but in front of the background. I'm going to open this up like we did earlier, and we're going to go into our stroke layer, and I'm going to make this layer black. And you'll notice once I increase the stroke width that it's a bit too dark. So I'm going to go into our transform functions, right down to the bottom to our opacity, and I'm going to make this 20%. Now, you'll notice when we play back that as the guy's legs move, he bobs up and down. The shadow should probably change in shape. So what we're going to do when he's higher is we're going to make the shadow smaller, then when he's lower and more spread out, we're going to keep it wide. And the way we're going to do this, we're going to keyframe it very simply. We're going to go into our path layer inside the shadow, grab your selection tool, hold shift just to bring up the editability of the path. I'm going to drag this out a little bit more. Then I'm going to move to our mid part of our step, and I'm going to decrease the length of this. I'm going to go to the right, and I'm going to copy and paste our original keyframe, wide keyframe. That pretty much fits. So I'm going to copy our narrower shadow. Actually, that could probably be even thinner. And finally, I'm going to close our loop, copying and pasting the wide shadow. So there we go. Now you notice it's a little bit off again. We need to adjust our keyframe velocity using the keyframe assistant, Easy Ease, animation, keyframe velocity. Make this 66 and 66, and our influence, and that's just going to match up with where our torso is. So now when we play it back, there we go, fits with the animation. So now we've got our animated character, we're going to export this and create a GIF. But before we do that, you'll notice that our composition settings are fairly huge. We have a 1920 by 1080 comp at the moment, and we're going to want something smaller for the web. Now, I'm going to export this to Dribble, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to select my character in the project console, and I'm going to drag it into a new composition. And it's going to look exactly the same as before. It's going to adopt the settings of the original comp. So what we're going to do, we're going to go Composition, Composition Settings, and I'm going to call this character Dribble. And Dribble uses a 400 by 300 panel. So what we've got now, here's our original comp. It's a bit large, so we're going to shrink this down. And if we view it at full resolution and at full scale, this is going to be our final output product. So now we have to bring our render bars back in so that we just render our loop. You'll notice that when we import the character, it brings with it our markers, so we just want to make sure we bound our markers as before. We'll save it and we'll do a quick RAM preview test. There we go, perfect. So now we've got our final composition at our final scale looping properly, we're ready to render. So we've bounded our comp and we're going to go composition and we're going to say hit make movie. And this is going to bring up our render console, and if we look into the output module, this should all be set up correctly. We want a quick time, all our size options are correct, no audio, and then if you select your desktop, your output to the desktop, hit render, and there we go, you'll hear the chime when the render's done. If you go to your desktop, what you should find is a very short loop, a single loop of your character. Okay, great, so we've got our character here on our desktop. We're going to open Photoshop, and we're going to go File, Open, and we're going to select our QuickTime movie. And here he is. Now he's going to appear as a still image in this, and what we're going to want to do is go File and Save for Web and Devices. And this is going to bring up this console here. I'm going to take a screenshot of these settings. These are just the default settings. The only thing we're going to change is our looping options. We want our loop to loop forever, and there we go. You can preview your loop, and that's going to be your animated GIF. And all we're going to do, once we've changed the looping options to forever, we're going to save this to our desktop. And that's it. And finally, I'm going to share my work. I'm going to upload my character to Dribbble. Okay, I've named my file, I'm going to publish it. There we go. And if you don't have a Dribbble account, no problem, you can still share it in the student project section. I've uploaded my guy here. I'm going to post him. And there you go, animated GIF.